it's completely taken out of its religious context, mainly. Very shortly, what do we do with St. Nicholas Day? Or actually, more accurate would be to say, what do we do the night before St. Nicholas Day? Because traditionally, 5 December is the day that we really celebrate it, and we celebrate it by giving gifts. That's just the basics. The very, very main basics is giving gifts. And St. Nicholas is called in Dutch Sinterklaas. Sinterklaas, or more commonly the shorter Sinterklaas. 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 So I'll start with telling you something short about the Sinterklaas and the historical figure, historical and religious figure that he's based on, and how that led to the celebration that we now have. I'll tell something about, well, the food that comes with it, and I'll also tell something about controversies, they say that in English, controversial aspects of this celebration. Let's start with who is Sinterklaas, or Saint Nicholas. Well, he is a holy man, a saint, of course, and traditionally he always wears a red bishop's hat, often with a cross on it. There is not one official version, I think. Every time I Google it, the hat looks a little bit different, and that doesn't matter. But he always has this red hat shaped like this, and most of the time it has a cross on it. Sometimes it's just a stripe, I guess, but most of the times it's a cross. This man is very old. He has a long white beard, and he wears a long red robe, a long red coat, cape. Does he wear a cape? I'm not even sure. I think Sinterklaas is based on is Saint Nicholas of Myra, who lived at the end of the 3rd century, beginning of the 4th century AD. He was from Myra in what is nowadays Turkey. And this saint was known mainly for his secret gift giving, I guess. Just so you know, I have nothing of this scripted. I just have like 5 points on paper that I want to talk about. That's it. So if I'm starting to ramble, I'm sorry. That's just how it is. So anyway, Nicholas of Myra. Stories about him. There aren't a lot of stories about him, but it is said that he liked to give money to the poor So that's it, very shortly. Who is Saint Nicholas of Myra? And of course it started with just Saint Nicholas Day. And the oldest way to celebrate Saint Nicholas Day is to put down a shoe. To put up your shoe, to receive gifts in. And at first, putting up your shoe was done inside the church, and the rich people came into the church and put some money into the shoes of the poor people. And this was a few hundred years ago already, I believe, somewhere in the 16th century, that it was done. Maybe even the 13th. I don't know for sure anymore, but a long time ago. And nowadays we still do that, although not necessarily on Saint Nicholas Day itself anymore, but in like 2 weeks before, when he arrives in the Netherlands. Up until Saint Nicholas Day, you can put up your shoe, and nowadays we mostly do that in our own home, near the fireplace, or near a door or window. And the fireplace is because Saint Nicholas and his helpers used to go over the rooftops of all the houses and drop down through the chimney to fill up your shoes. Does this sound slightly familiar? Yeah. That is because Santa Claus is based on Sinterklaas. So they have a lot in common. But of course, Santa Claus comes on Christmas night, or Christmas Eve, or I don't know when exactly, around Christmas. And I think this is because Saint Nicholas Day was for a long time celebrated together with some other holiday. I think, was it like just General Bishop's Day or something? I don't actually remember what kind of holiday it was, but it was a holiday that ran from the 6th of December until, I believe, the 28th of December. And eventually they set the date at 6th December for St. Nicholas Day, but at first it was melted together with some other holiday and lasted a few weeks. So I can imagine that from that time, that Saint Nicholas, that Santa Claus somehow developed from that. And yeah, so I don't think it's really weird that it has not a date to celebrate. I just think it's interesting that it falls together with Christmas. But maybe there's a really logical reason for it that I don't know. I'm just guessing here. Anyway, we're off topic. Sinterklaas, we were talking about Sinterklaas, not Santa Claus. Sinterklaas. course, his white horse is called Amerigo, and he loves carrots. He loves carrots. So you leave a carrot in your shoe, or sometimes a drawing. Kids make drawings and they put them in their shoe as a present for Sinterklaas or his helpers. In the hope that it will be well received and they will put a nice present in your shoe. Something else that is common, that is the same as with Santa Claus, is that Sinterklaas gives only gifts to nice children. Naughty children also get a gift sometimes, but it's not a nice gift. Something naughty children might get, and I've gotten it once in my life, and it was at a time that I didn't believe anymore. I knew it was my parents who put it in, so I was very angry with my parents. I wanted a present, and I know I had a big fight the night before, but yeah, I got a naughty present. It is a bag of salt. A bag of salt. I don't know why. A bag of salt is something for naughty children. But that's just the way it is. Either that or a roux. We call it the roux. It's like a few branches together. I don't know what to call it in English, but usually you just get a bag of salt. They always say, naughty children will get a bag of salt, but you never expect to actually find one in your shoe, especially once you don't believe anymore. As long as you believe, you might be afraid at least to find one. But in Spain. And why Spain? I mean, I just told you that he comes from Turkey. His remains are now in Italy. So why Spain? Well, there are various theories about that. You could say it plays in Italy, where his remains are, or were, whatever, was not always part of Italy and was part of something that was also part of Spain. And so you could say Spain, but yeah, there are also stories that he would at first he would only go through Spain to get candy, and that developed into that he just comes from Spain. Anyway, it's not very clear why Spain, but he comes from Spain. And how does he get to the Netherlands? I think he had a white horse, didn't he? He does, but that's not the way of transportation to the Netherlands. That's just his way of transportation inside the Netherlands. And maybe in Spain, I don't know. But it travels from Spain to the Netherlands on a steamboat. And it's not even a big steamship. At least not the one that is used for the official arrival in the Netherlands. That is always broadcasted on TV. But it is a smaller boat. It is a steamboat, but it also contained all presents of all children that he will be giving that year. Or at least a big part. Maybe some he still has to buy, but a big part of the presents. And so it's called the presents boat, or pakjesboot. Pakjesboot. Pakjesboot in Dutch. So yeah, he always comes by boat, by steamboat. He doesn't change to more modern ways of transportation. I guess this is just something from that book I talked about briefly earlier, from the 19th century. Anyway, that is how he gets here. Also, from that book is the idea that he has a helper, and this helper is called Piet. Piet. The name is not from the book, I believe, but the idea of the helper is. And that brings us to a bit of a controversial thing about this celebration. Because Piet, at first he had only one Piet, then there were two Piets, and at the Second World War, once the Netherlands were liberated, the Canadians that were in the Netherlands, they made a celebration with like tons and tons of beads. So since that day, Sinterklaas, Saint Nicholas, has a lot of helpers. But these helpers, they all used to be black. And of course, in this celebration, a lot of people dressed up as Sinterklaas, but also as his helpers. And there was a lot of blackface. It was simply blackface. Although the story that brown-skinned people have told me that children would approach them and say, "Hey, Piet," or actually Black Piet, because Black Piet is was their real name. Zwarte Piet. Zwarte Piet. Black Piet. And yeah. Since then, discussion has been going on because, of course, a lot of people think there is no racism in that. Because, yeah, there's nothing wrong with Black Piet. And at first I thought so too, because Piet were always the beaten, the Piets. They were the ones that were approachable. They were fun, they were friendly, and they were a little bit childish. And Sinterklaas was this big, stern, almost stern man who judged you, who had a book in which it said whether you had been naughty or nice. But Piet was just kind. He always gave you Kruidnoten. He always gives, Piet always give all the Kruidnoten and other candy. So I thought, there's nothing racist about that. He's like the most fun person there is. So that can't be racist. But at a certain point, my sister said, that's all very well, but there are still a lot of people offended by this. And that's when I realized, yeah, you can say what you want as a white person, but this isn't about white people. And if dark-skinned, if black and brown people say they are offended, they are, well, maybe not necessarily offended, but they feel awkward when kids say that to them. They come to them and say, "Hey, Black Piet." We have to listen to them if they say that, I think. And there are a lot of alternatives right now for the Black Piet. The most common one is Soothe Piet. Soothe Piet, as in the soothe from the chimney, which means they aren't completely black, but just have a few, how do you say it, a few spots of soothe on their skin. Which I think is a very good alternative. They also don't necessarily have curly hair anymore, or red lips, or golden earrings, or any of that stereotypical things. So that's a good alternative. And we also have bright colored beads, like purple, or orange, or yellow, or red, or any bright colored skin tones. Skin colors you will never find on a real person. But if you ask me, Soothe Piet is the one to stay. But of course, course, people are saying, don't touch our traditions. say I'm not racist, because even if they are racist, it's unintentional most of the time. I'm not saying all the time, but most of the time it's unintentional racism. But it doesn't mean it's not wrong. Anyway, enough about that. I want to talk a bit more about how it is celebrated. I told you we put our shoe down and we received small gifts in that and candy. So what it mainly is, besides the shoes, is the night before St. Nicholas Day. So December the 5th. Children gather around, and at a certain time they gather around to celebrate and sing Sinterklaas songs. We've got special songs about Sinterklaas. They sing songs until Sinterklaas and or one of his Piets arrives at your door. Arrives at the door. And either they come in or they knock very loudly on the window and leave a bag with presents in front of the door. And when they come in, yeah, of course, it's someone dressed up as Sinterklaas and or a Piet. And if it's just knocking on the door, it's often a neighbor who was told where the presents were and was told to knock around a certain time. And then of course one of the parents or sometimes the kids go look if they see a Piet or Sinterklaas, but of course they never see him. They're gone, like that. They leave presents and they're gone. You'll never spot them. If they don't want to be seen, they're not seen. And then, they go around picking a present out of the bag, seeing which name is on it, and giving them around. And for me, one time, when I was very young, St. Nicholas, Sinterklaas, came to visit me, and I was terrified of the man. I was terrified. It was such a scary man. And now, when I was younger, I was pretty much terrified of everyone I didn't know. So, yeah, I didn't really know this old man, so I was pretty terrified of him. At the same time, Sinterklaas, who was played by my grandmother, was terrified that I would recognize her. Of course I didn't. I was a child. Why would I think Sinterklaas was anyone else but Sinterklaas? That thought didn't even occur to me. It was just Sinterklaas. Wow. What an honor, but at the same time, how scary that he came to visit. Anyway, fun. Children believe in Sinterklaas until the age of around 8, I believe. And then they are usually told by a parent or by a teacher. And they stop believing. And once they stop believing, doesn't mean they stop celebrating. We've got different ways to celebrate this little hat that I made. If you closed it and you close the bottom, then inside you could put a little present, and the person would first have to like open the hat before they can get the present out. And some people get very creative with that, and I personally love that, but I haven't celebrated it in a long time. So yeah, it's either surprises or poems, or sometimes both, and occasionally neither, just presents, if the people don't feel creative, I guess. Anyway, one time, I told you, when I was very young, so when I was like 2 or 3 or something, my grandma played Sinterklaas. But another time when I was like 12 or 13 or something like that, we played that game where you have to pick a piece of paper and buy presents for that person with my grandparents. And so we were celebrating, and at a certain point my grandma had to go to the toilet, and like a few minutes later, all of a sudden Sinterklaas stood in front of the door, stood at the front door, and I was like, oh my god, no, grandma, what are you doing? I was so embarrassed. I mean, both my sister and I didn't believe anymore, but it was super funny. Anyway, so my grandma played Sinterklaas again for a short time, and then Sinterklaas went away, and my grandmother returned from the toilet, and oh my god, she just missed Sinterklaas. Anyway, we had great fun. But there's another way to celebrate Sinterklaas, which is quite recent, I think, and that's really a game. You play with a lot of people, so everyone in the group buys like 2 or 3 presents for a certain budget, a very small budget usually, and then when they celebrate St. Nicholas Day, all presents are thrown together, and for each present you start to like gamble, I guess. I don't remember exactly what the rules of the game are, but you use dice to, and I guess the one who throws the highest wins the present. So if it's a present you really want, you can throw more often or something. I guess you have to gamble something you already have. I played it once, I don't remember exactly how it went, but anyway, it's a fun game, but it's really a game for adults, so not for older. I think most older children will not play the game because you have to be able to lose. You cannot always win what you want, and I think for all the children, older children who don't believe in Sinterklaas, that the celebration with the names on the pieces of paper is a better way to celebrate and more done. Anyway, you might wonder why I've got these containers here, these cartons of chocolate milk. For anyone who recognizes the brand, it's chocolate milk, and I'm personally addicted to chocolate and also chocolate milk. So yeah, you can see it spells ASMR. But why does it spell that? It doesn't necessarily spell that, but they sell them this is because of another specific candy that is made for this time, which are chocolate letters. They make chocolate in letter form, and often kids get the first letter of their name in chocolate. And so this brand decided to make chocolate milk letters, and so this is why they have these in the Netherlands. And I was kind of pleased with myself that I found an A, an S, an N, an M, and an R. I couldn't pass this opportunity. Anyone, as you can hear, this one sounds different. And from this one, that's because this one is almost empty. I drank almost all of it already. But I've got 3 more, so that's great. Some other things, some other candy that we have is like little foam candies, which are often put together with the Kruidnoten. Kruidnoten are often also called pepernoten, but that is not correct. Pepernoten and Kruidnoten are 2 different things, and pepernoten are also a Sinterklaas candy, but they are not crunchy. They are softer, and they have different spices, but they are also very much a Sinterklaas candy. We also have tie, which are like these big, very, well, how do you call it in English? They're cookies, but they're not crunchy at all. They're very chewy and a bit spiced like pepernoten. We also have banquet letters. They're like chocolate letters, but made from dough, like the dough that's around pastries and stuff. And inside is a almond filling. It's hard to describe. I think probably things like that exist outside the Netherlands as well, and we also have gevuld speculaas, which is like the taste of Kruidnoten, only in a soft, almost cake-like cookie with a almond spice filling. Almond filling, which is also very good. It's all very nice. And I think that is most of it. Well, I found this at the grocery store, and it is an advent calendar, except it's not for Christmas, but for Sinterklaas. So it counts down, or it counts up, we should say, to pakjesavond, which means presents evening, which is the evening before St. Nicholas Day, so the evening of the 5th of December. As I told you, that is when we get presents. I found it and I had to let's start. And if you look inside, you see kids playing, kids having presents, but also the outline of Sinterklaas here. But let's start at 13 November. 13 November. Then we go up here, 14 November. And of course, behind each date is a little chocolate. 14 November. Then here's 15 November. 15 November. 15 November. And then 16 November. 16 November. 17 November is over here. 17 November. 17 18 Christmas have